What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're gonna get into color grading real estate videos. So by the end of this video, you should know how to make your own presets, color grade your footage, and do it in a way that's pretty quick and efficient and easy. So thanks for joining and let's get into the video. So here is some neutral color profile footage and here is some log footage. So you can see there's a huge difference. So basically this one, it's already color graded looking, it's nice and saturated, it's nice and contrasty, pretty much good to go. But this one needs a little bit of work to where it will look usable. So the main difference you're gonna see is look at this footage right here. See these window details? Okay, you're able to see these window details from like way through the house. So your dynamic range, your amount of information from the shadows to the highlights is a lot more compared to like this. So you're gonna get a lot more blown out highlights if you're not shooting in log. If you can keep those details, your footage is gonna look a little bit more like it's shot on a cinema camera or just higher quality cameras in general. So the situations I would use normal neutral color profiles in is stuff like this, where there's not really a window in the shot. The whole exposure level of the whole room is pretty much the same consistently throughout the picture, but it's pretty rare that that comes up. See, so like the same room, it looks good right there. And then when you're on this one, the windows look pretty bad. Looks pretty good. So for color grading, here's what we do. All I do is look at this vector scope, okay? This just represents the darkest point and the brightest point of the picture. So you really don't want anything to be past the 100 or past 0. So we did okay with that 0, but the 100's a little bit hot. So you can't recover it because that window in the background is just totally blown out. So I'll go ahead and lower that around the 70% range is where I like to keep my main brightness. And we're just gonna add, let me make that full res. We're just gonna use the slider for the blacks and get that to where it gets to about 0. That's like actually black, so it's okay for that one. And then so that's a lot closer to what log would look like, but you still get less dynamic range. So I'm not going to do too much on this one. It kind of is what it is, but as you can see, if you need to get your edit back really quick, maybe that's better because you can kind of just plug that into your timeline, export it, you're good to go. And so yeah, I'll normally do the highlights, shadows, bump it up. For me, I basically just try to get it to where you can really see what the main point of the shot is clearly, quickly, and nicely. So that's pretty good. This one's a little bit more difficult, so I'll boost the shadows. As you can see on this scope, it's a lot less exposed. So I'm gonna bump it up. Okay. Try to get somewhere in the middle. Maybe tone down the contrast a little bit, turn down the highlights. You can always just move these around and see how it affects your image until you get it where you like it. So then bump down the whites because this little spot's a little bit overexposed, and then get those shadows down. And we can see before and after to where basically we just made it a little bit more easy to look at, and you can see kind of this living room and the kitchen a little bit better together. Let's get into log, where you have to be a little bit more strategic. So as you can see, the scope is a lot less blown out in either the highlights or the shadows. So we've got a lot more room to edit. So what I like to do is, first I like to do my exposure. So I'll bump that up to closer to 70 or 80 for these peaks, these main peaks. And then I'll go ahead and take out some of the highlights a little bit, so you can bring in a little bit more details from the outside, and then I'll bump that back up. And then I like to go with my blacks slider, get somewhere close to, you want it to end up close to 0, but I'll leave it a little bit of room right now. And then I'm going to add some contrast. See, that really stretches the scope. Okay. I used to just eyeball this, but these scopes are really, really life-changing and make it a lot more consistent and reliable. So usually right here, I'll go in and change my white balance a little bit to where I just want it to look natural. Okay. I'm not going to do too much, but in like these stairs, it looks a little bit green, so I'm going to change the tint just a bit. Okay. See, that's too much. And actually, it's a little bit more true to life that way. And yeah, just keep tweaking it a little bit until it looks pretty much like it did in real life. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. So before and after looks pretty good to me. So then this shot just goes like that. Okay. And what I'll do if I'm editing like a whole property, I'll do one shot that starts kind of like a sequence of a room or a certain type of look in the house, and copy it over to all the other ones, and then tweak it a little bit until it looks really good. It changes a little bit from clip to clip. Okay, so next clip, it's a different house, but with similar colors. So I'm just gonna copy that and paste it in. Command V to paste it onto there. And as we can see, like the vector scope looks really good. Maybe make it a little bit brighter. Turn down that contrast a little bit. We're good to go. So if you're going to be really strategic, you could just go in and save these as presets to use later. And to do that, all you do is you go into the effects control panels, right click on your Lumetri color settings that you did, and do save preset. And then you're just going to save that as, let's just call this interior 1. And then from then on, you can just pull that up to put on anything and get started from there. So one of the big things I've noticed when I shoot log in low light situations, like let's say like a media room or something like that, or at night, my camera gets a lot of noise in the shadows. So sometimes I'll actually switch from log to a neutral color profile that has added noise reduction on the camera, in camera, because that's going to save my footage and make it look a lot nicer in editing. Basically, it just pays off to learn how to work with your camera on its strengths to get the best end results possible. I've still got it copied, so I'm just going to copy it into this one. Okay, and this one, it's a little bit different situation. We had these lights off so that it would stay nice and white. They were orange lights, so it was just kind of messing it up. Okay, so I just used my eyedropper right here, white balance selector. You just click that onto something that's white or neutral, and you can go from there. So it really varies from thing to thing. Okay, not bad. So as you can see, they start to look pretty similar. or let's say like that versus that. But just the way that the dynamic range works, you get a lot less intense highlights on like this. So everything just looks a little bit more natural looking, like you would see it with your eyes. So that's why I like to shoot log. It's not quite as punchy, but I think it still looks really good. Okay. Detail shot. I'm just pasting these into every one from that first one still. Okay. So yeah, we can. Nice. It's pretty easy. Okay, another interior, a little bit weird. This is when those cameras that have really high dynamic range come in handy, because you could get a lot more information out of this image if that's what you were shooting on. So, same thing per image. Okay. So it's not, you know, that's a little too much. So you can use the highlight slider all the way down if you want to. You can use the whites slider as well to do highlights pretty much. They all have a little bit of a different effect on the image, but try them out, see what works for your shot. So right there, that's pretty much some of the best I can do. You want some detail in the shadows still. I don't ever like to have it totally black. There it is. So onto this one. Copy paste that one in there. We're gonna paste that on there, and I'm gonna do my white balance on the wall. We've got a mixed lighting situation on this guy. So there was a window on the right and artificial orangish light on the left. So it's a little bit weird looking. But if you weren't shooting in log, this one would be a little bit more tricky. Because it would have a lot of blue baked in there and a lot of orange baked in right there to the image. So that's pretty good. Obviously you could get a lot more scientific in depth to these, but for these projects, usually you're shooting them and editing them and turning them around pretty quickly. So I don't like to do crazy amounts of time on editing. Usually you can get still really good results this way. Okay. So that looks pretty good. We've got clarity in the shot, we've got color, we've got contrast, and we can see the main focal point really nicely. So now we got some exteriors that we're gonna try this stuff out on. All right, so I'm just pasting it in there as well. And we're just gonna adjust these a little bit more. Usually I'll add some magenta if they've got the green looking front of the house. And usually for exteriors, I will have these highlights all the way down pretty much every time, because you wanna keep as much of that sky detail as possible. Okay. Boost the whites a little bit, get some more contrast in there. Pull up those shadows, pull up the blacks. So we're gonna have to clip the sky just a little bit because we really want the front of the house to show up. All right, so here's how that looks now. Pretty solid. Okay, so this is when you could save another preset for exteriors and save that for later. You can just save a lot of these over time and have some really good starting points ready to go, and it'll really speed up your editing. Okay, now we're gonna paste that in. Sometimes if your whole image is bright, I'll turn these shadows down to where it'll make it a little bit more dynamic looking. So there's how that one's gonna play back. Nice, keeps it really focused on the house as it plays through. Nice and contrasty, colorful. Now onto the drone shot. I've just got one drone shot because this is pretty basic stuff. So for drones, pasted that exterior preset that we just made onto there, and I'm gonna pull these up and just work through it like normal. Okay. So the main point of this one is this middle area with this clubhouse type of thing. So I'm gonna warm it up a little bit. This was shot in the evening. This is why I always say it's good to shoot in the evening for your drone shots, because they look a lot more dynamic. Okay. So here's another little trick, and this is why I pulled up this drone shot. So the horizon line is kind of bowed looking because it's a wide angle lens. This comes up in a lot of drone footage. So we're just gonna find the lens distortion effect right here. Just search for lens distortion, and we're gonna put that on the clip. We're gonna go into effects control and change this curvature to -10, and it's fixed. That's pretty much it. So if you're gonna save those as a preset as well, you could just highlight both of them and then click save preset and save it as drone color plus lens correction. And then you've got that ready to go. All you're gonna have to do in the future is go into your little presets panel and click this one, drag it on there, and you're ready to go. All right, guys, that's about it for this one. I hope that helps. I hope my videos are helping you make your life a little bit easier. I know photo and video shooting and editing is just a ton of trial and error and doing a ton of bad shots before you get anything that looks really good. So hopefully these videos are helping you guys speed up that process. I really appreciate you guys being here, and if you like the video, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.